We're talking about the RBP calculator in Echo. If you're in the wrong room, I won't be offended if you leave. Michael cried a little bit last time, but he got over it. So just before we kind of get started, by show of hands, who's familiar with Echo? All right, it's picking up popularity. Did anybody go to that session earlier today about Echo? Oh man, I need new material now. How about the RBP calculator? Who's familiar with that? A couple. Have you guys used it or just seen it or heard of it? You've used it?
One.
All right. Well, this is going to be awesome. So, my name is Jake Haldeman. I work with the LogRhythm sales engineering team under the SE operations. My day-to-day is to keep people like Luis and Brandon here happy so that they can do demos, so that we can reliably show off LogRhythm. And then with us today is Michael Sanas.
Michael Sanas, I'm Director of Engineering at LogRhythm. We're responsible for application operations. So in charge of the Tier 4 support team as well as the tools team that developed and brought you the tools we're going to see today.
Awesome. So just to set expectations, we are going to talk about Echo. It's going to be more of an overview, not nearly as in-depth as before. And then we're going to do an overview of the RBP calculator. Michael's going to give you the ins and outs of that, and he's going to make sure that you guys are all math scholars by the end of this. And then we're going to jump in and do some demos. We're going to talk about AID rules, MPEs, and then we're going to wrap things up. And it should be a good time. So a lot of you guys are already familiar with Echo. It's here as an awesome free resource that, yeah, it's free. Sales engineers don't like that though. They want to charge people. No, I'm just kidding. No, this is a handy tool that any LogRhythm customer can utilize, and it's there to test rules. It's a resource for helping you validate risk ratings. That's what our main focus is today, is risk ratings. Replay past experiences. Who wants to relive malware outbreaks? You know, just like reintroduce malware, ransomware, let's just throw it out and see what happens. You know, that's not what you want to do. So Echo's here to make it a safe environment to relive those experiences. So you can test and validate your processes, your policies, your procedures. I like to think of it as Echo is like the interactive tabletop tool. You know, let's do a tabletop exercise, but instead of just talking through it, let's actually do Echo. Let's relive it and see how things go. So what is Echo and how does it work? Well, Echo is available for free on our community. Still free. Yeah. And it allows you to replay all of your any type of log that you want. There's a handful of built-in use cases that you can utilize, or you can build your own. You can take logs from your environment and customize Echo to be a simulation of what you actually see every day, not just what we built as demos. One of the great things with Echo is that you can replay one or many use cases. So you can go through and say, I want to see a handful of scenarios and how my SOC team's going to respond when we throw them malware, ransomware, and a server outage all at the same time. It could be really fun. For you or for your SOC. One of the great things that the tools team did is they made sure it's easy for us to import logs. And so if you're not familiar, LogRhythm allows you to export logs in an LLX format. And you can easily import that or just raw text logs. And you can put that into Echo and replay it that way. The team that designed this built a web UI as well as an API. So in my scenario, helping the sales engineers, we put forth a system so that they don't have to log in to execute use cases because they have to go through so many security steps. Instead, they can execute use cases through a web portal that talks to the API of Echo. Meanwhile, while I'm in the office at Boulder, I can pull up the web UI, and I can execute those same use cases in a graphical format too. And then, the LogRhythm Echo is based around an agent simulator. If you're familiar, everything in LogRhythm is fed into a system monitor agent. We simulate that for Echo to work. And so it makes life a lot easier for you. Instead of having to configure your log sources, we talk to the agent simulator, we talk to LogRhythm, and Echo configures all those steps for you. It will automatically configure things within the EMDB, and when you're done, you hit delete and it removes all that configuration. So everything you just did with Echo will be cleaned up so that you can continue using your system without this extra data in there. And I don't know if you guys have heard, but we have a new tool called the LogRhythm Log Library. Nigel will be talking about this tomorrow in one of the deep dive breakouts. But it's an awesome tool that you can pull log information out of and put it directly into Echo. So maybe you're evaluating a new tool or new product, and you want to see what the logs would look like, or start preparing to build rules within LogRhythm. You can open up that log library and start developing these simulations. And then also, the other thing just mentioned, if you are interested in Echo, we do have a deep dive starting today as well as on Thursday that you can get getting started with Echo. So Echo is really easy to download from the community. It installs on any Windows computer. And when you install it, you'll just open up the local host to that port that's up there, 5.3s, all documented in the user guide. First thing you do is you connect it to the EMDB database. So you can see here, we just typed in the login information and hit save. And it instantly populates all of our data processors. I only have one in my lab, so it only showed that one. And we instantly push in all the log sources that Echo uses into this data processor. And so we just give it a second and it'll refresh. And you can see we just added 31 new log sources to this LogRhythm instance through Echo. And so now it's ready to start replaying things like Aruba Wireless or Exchange Server, AWS CloudTrail. All these logs can now be replayed instantly into LogRhythm so we can see how the system will respond to it. So we can tune our rules or build rules with these sample logs. One of the other things I'll point out is that it created two test entities, host entities, that we can use, a domain controller and a PC. We're going to talk about those more in a little bit when we start doing some demos. But another handy thing is you can connect this to network monitor and you can replay PCAPs through a use case in Echo. One other thing I'll mention before we move on is that I logged in as the system administrator. We have documentation and scripts to build a least privilege user account for this. That would be much more safe to use in a production environment. It'll be more of a read-only, and it only writes what's absolutely necessary. So let's see Echo in action here. In this scenario, I wanted to replay a ransomware use case. So I just did a search to filter down based on the first couple letters of ransomware. When I hit play, you see it immediately replayed. It sent those logs to LogRhythm. In a scenario where LogRhythm isn't ready to receive it, maybe the data processor is not running or the mediator is having an issue, that run button would actually be disabled. LogRhythm and Echo knows the status of LogRhythm. But our log ran perfectly. You see, we had a risk rating of 100 for this ransomware event. So we drilled into it, and now we can see the additional AIE events that occurred to cause that major ransomware alarm to fire with a high risk rating. We can drill into this. Basic SOC Analyst 101 right here, right? We see an alarm, we're drilling in. You can't really tell it's fake data. We know it is. We can look at a couple of telltale signs, like we see the entities that are there, the Echo test entities. So we have the indication that this isn't a live event, but we can easily go through and see everything that would have happened in that ransomware scenario. This is perfect because now we can go and reevaluate how we respond to ransomware. Then see how the analysts respond or things like that. So now that we have Echo up and running, we have it replaying logs, we can start building AIE rules with this. But as we're building the AIE rules, we're going to run into a challenge of how do we handle the scoring? Who here knows much about RBP scoring? Couple? You guys love it, right? It's easy, isn't it? Michael, will you tell us more about the RBP scoring and how your calculator makes it easy?
Yes, will do.
Thank you.
Hey Jake, sorry to interrupt. After the session, we'll be finished with our deep dives. We're going to have a 30-minute break, and we forgot to tell folks that when you come back to the 3:30, participating in labs, please bring your laptop. And that way we can really engage and interact in all the lab sessions this afternoon. Sorry to interrupt, just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
For the labs.
So the labs are back in the big ballroom. We're all going to be back in the big ballroom. Thank you. Thank you, Jake.
So, that Arthur.
So RBP, risk-based priority. This is LogRhythm's patented risk scoring system that we developed over the years to help analysts focus their attention on the highest, riskiest things that are going on in their environment. There is a bit of history behind RBP and why we came up with RBP, and it's mainly alarm fatigue and the volume of logs, events, alarms that we're receiving in our LogRhythm deployments every day. This is a bit of an extreme piece of data from a big customer. They're getting 38,000 alarms per day, which is obviously ridiculous. But even 300 alarms or even 30 alarms per day, can be a lot of alarms to handle and manage, depending on the size of your operation. If it's a small shop, that's normally just one person, chasing down all those alarms themselves. So we needed a way to, score these alarms. All alarms are not created equal. There's some are more high risk than others. We wanted to put together a system instead of equations and formulas and inputs to kind of reveal that. For the analysts, so that when they look at these bunches of alarms, they can see the highest risk ones and address those first. So we calculate a risk score 0 to 100 for every MPE event and every AIE event. And then when we generate an alarm based off either of those, the alarm gets the priority, the RBP of the highest level event that triggered it. There's many factors to consider when calculating RBP, aside from the formulas. The first two are the source and destination. So where did this log come from? Where did it impact on my network? Those are important. At the host level, the network level, and the zone level. Next are the classifications that LogRhythm applies. So the message class is a kind of a high-level classification of an event. And then a common event is pretty low-level additional classification of that particular event. The AIE rule itself has got several scoring knobs on it. There's the risk rating of the rule itself, and then there's the FPP for that particular rule that get plugged in. We have global weights to be applied to all of these terms that we use in the equation. So not only do we have the value for each of these themselves, but each one has a weight that separates it, differentiates it from the other parts of the equation. We also have defaults that are globally applied. So if we are, for example, trying to determine the risk rating for the impacted host, and we can't determine what that is because we don't know about this host, we've got some defaults that will be applied. So in other words, we won't just put 0 in for that term. We'll actually put in a realistic value in there. We also have for AIE various modes of influence for running those rules. There's the rule-based influencer, which will kind of put more weight on the AIE rule, and then there's a host-based influencer mode where you can put more weight on the source and destination components. And then there's also a balanced mode where it's kind of equal across the rule and the host risk ratings. So there's a lot of terms here, a lot of things going on. There's a lot of not just getting the values themselves, but knowing where to plug those values in, use those, or do I default to a higher level value, things like that. But all that being said, once you get out the other side, we believe we scored the alarm, scored the event, in a way that's appropriate for an analyst, to focus on the riskiest ones first. This is awesome. As an analyst, I would love to have this. Instead of having to look at 50 alarms, I can maybe look at the top 10 and feel pretty good about what I've done. So, just as an exercise, just for fun, let's go calculate some RBP. It's going to be easy, I promise. So we've got a lot of equations. So the first thing is what am I AIE and my MPE? This one right here, this is the MPE RBP. This is actually the easiest one. So we're gonna do an example with it because these other ones they're too hard. These are the AIE equations, and the differences here are depending on whether you're doing the host influenced or rule risk rating influenced variations of the equation. But let's take a quick example. So how hard can it be? We can do this. We've got the equation. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms in there. We can do this. Here they are. There's a little description of what these things are, so we can go figure them out.
This is easy, right?
No problem. Stay with me. So we're going to try to do this. We're going to try and figure out the MPE RBP for an account created event in the security event log that was collected from a LogRhythm XM appliance, but originated from an external IP address. Should be pretty straightforward. Got all this stuff right here. Let's get started. Let's get the first thing we need is the CRR, classification risk rating. So let's go get that. Is that in the client console, Jake?
No, it's not.
Oh, so we can go to the web console and figure out what that is.
No, you can't.
Oh, is there like files? Is there like a website? Is there?
No, it's not documented, I don't think, either.
I know where we can go. We can go to SQL Server.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to say that next, right?
Yeah, there's my next step.
So we're going to go into SQL Server Management Studio. We're going to bring that thing up. We're going to log in. We're going to bring up a new query window. We're going to run a select statement on this table that everybody knows about. We're going to get 42 rows back. These are our high-level message classifications. Okay, so we've got 42. Which one should we
That's
use?
manageable. 42 is not bad.
I can deal with 42. I can pick one of those. That's great. So we've got our CRR. Let's get our event risk rating score now. Okay, is that in the console?
No.
Is it in the web console?
Nada.
Is it in a file somewhere?
No.
Do I have to go to SQL?
Yes.
So I go back to SQL to another table we know about. It's actually a common event. No problem. 55,000 of those. What? I'm going to pick one.
I need a break.
Okay, we're halfway done. We're halfway done. We just got the host scores to deal with. Easy breezy. We just go and we'll find our host and we'll look up its score. But what if we don't have the host in our system? Then we use the network score. What if we don't have a network defined for this host?
That never happens.
Yeah, everybody's got these all signed, right?
All my customers fill out their entities perfect.
Oh yeah, they're all very thoughtfully done, I'm sure. So if we can't figure out these two components here, we kind of have this hierarchy that we kind of fall back through to figure out what score to use. We start with the host. If there's no host, we go to the network. If there's no network, we go to the zone. If there's no zone, then we go to the global default values for these. No problem. Oh, wait a minute. I've got two values. I've got external one is 6, and then internal one is 1. Which one do I use? Well, I've got to go back to my host to determine, is it internal, is it external? I have to go decide if it's an IP address. I have to go look up that IP address. Is it a publicly addressable IP address? Is it an internal address? And then once I know that, I can decide which one of those values to use. So now that I've done all that, we've just got the math to work out here. Showing all the work. So, plug in the numbers. We've got the weights. Oh, I forgot about the weights. Those are the weights on the bottom of the global section. Apply the weights to all the scores that we just figured out. Add it all up. Divide by the max number of points, which is constant. Multiply by 100, and we get 42.
It's your answer for everything.
42. Or we could just use a calculator and come over here and chosen the source destination as an external address, chosen the source as an external address, chosen the destination as a known internal host, our XM, pick the account created rule, hit the calculate button, and gotten 42. So, how does it do this? Calculator is pretty straightforward. When you connect to the calculator, you log into SQL Server and it pulls out your host information, your network information, all of your custom rules that you've created or modified in the system, and puts them at your fingertips here on the screen. And you can choose your destination, you can choose your source, you can choose your AIE rule or your MPE rule in the middle. You have your global defaults down here. All of these things came from your EMDB, so that they're kind of same. It's important to note that this is read-only. All the changes and things that you'll do here won't be pushed back into your deployment. So as an analyst, you can kind of come in here and kind of pick and choose your host and destination, pick and choose the rules, get the score. If you don't like the score, you can adjust it. You can have all the knobs in one place at your fingertips. So you can adjust the scoring of your rule, you can adjust the scoring of your hosts, you can adjust your defaults and your influencers until you get the score that you want, and then you can take the information here and push it back into your deployment. If things get crazy and you get lost, you can hit reset and you'll get wiped back to the original defaults that came from your system.
All right, let's do an AIE one now.
Yes, everybody want to calculate an AIE rule?
Yes. That's the more complex one, right?
That's the more complex one.
The calculator, is it a piece of software you need to install somewhere, or is it available for use?
Just wait. Let's go to the next slide. We'll find out. Free tool.
Free, available on the community on the download page. It's a Windows application, so you need to install it on a Windows host. As long as it has network connectivity to your EMD, that should be fine. You don't need to put it on a PM or anything like that.
It can go on there, but it doesn't need to.
Correct. It's a signed installer. Installs to the program start menu. Gives you a nice icon to fire up. You can log into SQL Server at the login page. Again, there's a least privileged user that we give you to do this. You don't have to use SA. And then you're off to the races.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
Well,
That's such a cool tool. You know, so I don't know if you guys heard, Michael's over the tools team, and the tools team has been developing these tools internally for a couple of years. Like Echo, I've been working with Michael and the tools team for 2 years on. And to make this available to the community is just awesome, because these are huge resources we've been having. And for them to put all this effort into it, we're so happy to share it with all of you guys now. Luis, did you have a question?
Yeah, I always was under the impression that also you would take into consideration the message classification from the vendor. So whether it was an attack, whether it was critical, whether it was something that also weighed into the RBP rating. Is that correct or no?
Yeah, so on that other slide, we showed the message classification and the common event. On the previous, on the previous slide.
Okay. So
yeah,
it's factor in more so than destination source and a couple of other things, but it's sort of equally weighted.
You got to look at the equation.
Good answer.
There's your protractor, go dig in. But yeah, the classification is a big component of it, because we will, based on information from the vendor, label a particular event as an attack or a compromise or reconnaissance. So that's built in from LogRhythm though. That's not like,
And can you repeat for our customers how important entities are?
No, because we're going to talk about that right now. So let's do a couple demos now. So I want to go through and show you guys kind of the big picture of why this all matters. So remember, we were talking about we have a domain controller and PC that Echo created for us. So show of hands, who here has gone through all of their host entities and defined that host risk level? Only a couple. That's actually better than the other sessions. How many have done some of them? A lot more. That's good. That's good progress, right? Baby steps.
That's kind of why we put in so many defaults for figuring out what the host risk level is. A lot of times the host level is not set. So instead of using like a 0 or -1, we want to put in some like network and some global defaults to put a realistic value in there instead of an unrealistic value.
Exactly. So we have these both set to 0. So let's go through and see how the calculation shows up. You can see we're just going through, we're picking those devices that we were talking about, and we're just going to do a really basic authentication success and object access. So this might be somebody logging in for the first time, pulling group policy settings down, just a normal log file, audit access success. So we went through 0, 0. We got an RBP score of 17. Michael, how is 17? Is that a good score for us?
Seems a little low personally. Maybe we could bump it up a little.
I agree. Let's kick it up a notch. Because I don't think that's an acceptable score. Yeah, this is a normal audit event, but we're talking to a domain controller. This is one of those laptops that, it's one of those users where she's like, oh yeah, I know how to use the computer, I'm really good, but then always has malware too. No offense if that's you too, but hey, malware happens. But so let's fix this. We set our domain controller to a risk level rating of 8. And then we got the risk level of 4 for the PC. Now let's go and see how it works. It nearly doubled our score. So now we're getting a 31. Not quite double, I know I'm not that bad at math, but it's close. That's a lot more accurate. We're talking to a main controller. It's a semi-risky PC. This makes sense. I feel good about that score. Are you okay with 31, Michael?
I feel better about that.
About 42.
It's no 42, that's for sure. So let's go through an AIE scenario now. You guys know silence, antivirus, detects some malware, sys logs it to LogRhythm, LogRhythm processes it all, our AIE rule catches it, an alarm is fired. Best practices, since we're just doing this on a lab, we didn't do this, but get a smart response in there, get a playbook, make sure you guys have a process to handle this stuff. So just looking at the rule, we're looking for a common event detected malware activity. You can see we have a risk rating set, our false positive probabilities all set. We have some decent numbers here, okay? We're looking good. How do you think the scoring is going to turn out? It shouldn't be too bad, right? Well, we set the known host, we set an unknown origin, we got a score of RBP 57. That's probably about right. Malware outbreak isn't going to be the end of the world, especially when you have those smart responses hide, or auto-mediate, things like that, so it shouldn't be bad. Now let's test this through Echo. Let's see how this goes. So in this scenario, we use lab DC1. We're now going to use a different system. So we can see how it should turn out based on just, same rule, but different server. Let's see what happens. You notice I found our silence use case, I hit run, and then I just pop back over to our web console. We'll give it a second. It's my lab server, so it's not the fastest, but here it is. We got our silence malware detected. Michael, what was our previous score?
57.
57. We got a 60. That's about what I was looking for, right? I mean, it's a different server, different risk rating, so it's going to be a little bit different, but there we go. That's right in that range of what we were looking for. Now, you might say, no, that's not what I wanted. Let's go back and tweak this. All right, let's go back and tweak it. We have the tools to test. We have the tools to validate. That's what Echo's here for. So just to kind of summarize, we ran our use case. We replayed that one log message. You see it right here, detected malware activity. We have the AIE event for it. We got that alarm, 60. I'm going to respond to that. I'm going to make sure our auto remediation occurred on that user's laptop. Problem solved. So there we go. We've now combined Echo and our RBP calculator to validate that our scores and rules are working and we're getting what we're expecting. So just to kind of summarize all of this, we're going to use Echo to develop and test our rules. We're going to use the RBP calculator to make sure we're getting the scores we're expecting. And so together, they're giving us this really, really useful and reliable tool to validate all of our rules and alarms and everything are working correctly. And then to tie this even better, I mentioned earlier there's that log library. Nigel's going to be talking about that tomorrow, introduction of the log library. Put that together with this. Now you can get sample logs, put it into Echo, and validate it all with the RBP calculator. It's the trifecta. This is pretty cool stuff. And again, all of this is free on the community for you to start using today. I'd highly recommend check out the Getting Started with Echo Deep Dive Lab in, 30 minutes or so, 32 minutes. Check out Michael's presentation tomorrow on the LogRhythm Diagnostic. Has anyone used that tool yet, the LR Diagnostics? It's pretty good stuff. Michael's going to go in depth on it and teach you guys more about it. And then, of course, Nigel's log library. And then if you're more interested in Echo, check out the presentation that occurred earlier today about using Echo that Brandon Pace and I did. And then all of this will be on the community. We have links to user guides and things like that out there. Awesome resources. The user guides cover all of what we just did, but in much more detail. So check that out. And then, of course, all of the presentations are available in the community. All right, guys, thank you so much for your time. Like Arthur said, 30-minute break.